Hi everybody, this is Saiji Dan, Sai Miles, and we wanted to talk a little bit about vital targets in theory and application today. Now, in martial arts, there are essentially three distinct divisions of what we're learning. And we like to call them the high art, the middle art, and the low art. And the high art, of course, is martial arts, and it is about empowering yourself and about becoming better today than you were yesterday and increasing your physical, emotional, and mental and spiritual health. And so that's the high art. And we always say in martial arts, the goal is to be better today than you were yesterday. That's the high art. The middle art is sport. And especially in our society today, and in this country, the United States of America, middle art is often confused with self-defense. You will find a lot of people who say, well, if you don't kickbox, you can't do self-defense. Or if you don't wrestle, you can't do self-defense. If you can't insert sport here, BJJ in sport, kickboxing, kumite, wrestling, judo, if you don't do sport, you're not ready for self-defense. And that's because they're half right. Self-defense is about preventing harm to yourself. That's it. And so it is considered the low art because it is violent and it's nasty and it hurts people. So sport, every sport, rules evolve to protect the practitioner. And following the rules is the antithesis of self-defense. Self-defense has one rule: protect yourself, win, get away. Call it 3 rules? No, it's one rule. It's getting away, protecting yourself from harm. And that means you're going to have to harm the other guy. So when it comes to self-defense, you need to have a lot of things that sport teaches you. You need to have timing. You need to have fitness. You need to be used to using your footwork. You have to have communication between you and your opponent. You've got to understand the fluid dynamics of fighting someone with full resistance. But there is the really, really sneaky thing about self-defense. You can't train self-defense full resistance, full contact. Because self-defense at full resistance and full contact injures people permanently. That's the whole point. You have to incapacitate your opponent. And you don't have time to judge if this hit will stun them or knock them out or break their jaw. You don't have time to figure that out. So you deliver maximum damage, most efficient way possible in self-defense. You cannot do that full speed with the gloves off, quote unquote. And that is because vital targets. When you're doing self-defense, you're not just punching someone in the head area. You are trying to focus down and do things that will incapacitate them. So we need to know what vital targets are, and we need to know why we want to hit them, how we can strike them, and why we don't practice these full speed. Now, besides the obvious safety factor, Sai Miles face me. If Sai Miles and I get our hands up and I say, okay, I've got to practice self-defense techniques for somebody who comes in really close and grabs me. And Sai Miles comes in and grabs me, and I trap in here, and I'm going to practice at full speed and full power my self-defense techniques now, and I jam my fingers into his eyes. Well, we're done. He's going to the hospital. He will have permanent visual impairment, and I don't have a training partner anymore. You see? So when we start practicing in full strength, full speed, we put on gear, we're wearing gloves, none of that can happen to him for safety reasons. And I'm glad we have it. But the eyes are my #1 vital target. I love the idea of the eyes as being your striking point on the head and face because it hurts a whole lot. In sport, if you're fighting with gloves on and your thumbs are free and you're kickboxing and a thumb gets in the eye, they stop the fight. It's so painful, they stop the fight and let the person recover because it is a massively painful strike. Now, if you do it full speed with no gloves on, you're going to hurt your fingers. Okay? A lot of vital targets are soft targets. And so if you hit them really hard with hard targets, they're surrounded by hard targets. That's how we evolve. Our eyes are protected by our bones and our occipital lobe and our cheekbones. It makes it hard to hit the eyes. But if we do hit the eyes, we have a good chance of, if one finger gets into the eyes or 2 fingers, the other ones are going to be hitting up here. He's moving, right? So I might be jamming and hitting his forehead. It's going to hurt my fingers, but it's a self-defense situation. In a self-defense situation, you shouldn't be fighting unless it's life and death. You shouldn't be fighting unless he doesn't give me an option to get away. And if he doesn't give me an option to get away, I need to make him let me get away. And so I don't want to do this. That might hurt him, but it didn't stop him. Okay? So, while vital targets are important, they're not the only thing to hit. Okay? Well, you can absolutely punch somebody in the nose. I consider the nose a vital target. Because if you break the nose or you hit it hard, the eyes water, the nose runs, it gets harder to breathe. So, it's okay to use. But if you're thinking about incapacitating, you've got to recognize that you've got to train. Cy Miles and I have got to get our hands up, and we've got to train, but we've got to train safely. So when we're starting to give full strength resistance, and I'm saying, really resist, and we start moving around and we're punching each other, and he's hitting me with gloves on, we're training ourselves to hit gross motor, big target areas, and we're not training ourselves to truly incapacitate our opponent, which is what self-defense is really all about. And that's where those vital targets come in. So, the thing about vital targets is, so many people are so caught up on the sport aspect of training, the competition aspect, the live training against another person, that when they get into a situation, they don't think that when I do this, I'm doing anything but punching. So they're going to cover up or move and try to get away from a big gross motor strike. And that's fine, because, turn and face the front. What I have is I've got opportunities for soft targets like ears, eyes, nose, throat, groin, toes. Okay? These are fragile areas of the body. Think small bones, think cartilage, think soft tissue. Right? So when I start talking about vital targets, I'm very often referring to fingers, eyes, nose, lips, throat, ears, right? Groin, toes. Those are my big ones, okay? There are other places you can hit that are soft targets. Hitting somebody in the gut, that's a soft target, okay? Punching somebody in the neck is a soft target, and it's fairly vital. But I like to hit the places where it takes minimal amount of force and maximum damage. Because the whole idea is not to fight and win. The whole idea is to keep him from chasing me while I go away and get away safely. So I can't just go, leave me alone and run away, because what if he's got a knife, what if he's got a gun, what if he's faster than me? Let's just start with that. He's probably faster than me. So I need to incapacitate him. So we like to take out mobility, and we like to do things like, it's very hard to grab me with this hand if I've broken 2 of the fingers. Okay? Now, if you go down that rabbit hole of I catch his hand when he punches me and I grab his pinky and I twist it and skidoosh, right? And I break it, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about face me and throw that punch and boom! And I hit it as hard as I can, right? That's a vital target. And if that works, boom! And I do this, the fight's over. I won. 2 strikes, I win. Fight's over. I broke his hand and I stuck my fingers in his eyes. Okay? Now I'm running away. That's vital targets. So when you train, sometimes you've got to train and you get together and you say, okay, I'm gonna throw this punch and I want you to move on your forward stance and get outside and deliver a strike as you do it. And we train this all the time. So as I throw this punch, he'll parry my punch, he'll move outside, and look at that. Nice big gross motor strong strike right there. Okay? And then we'll train that fast and we'll train it with resistance. And then I'll say, but now this time, take that hand and instead remember that you can turn it over and gouge me in the eyes, but please don't hurt me for real. And then he does this and he goes boom and he throws his fingers up, because you've got to train your body to do it. You have to train your body to go and throw vital target strikes. You can't throw a punch and then say, but in a fight I'll do fingers. No, you won't. You'll do a punch. You'll do what you train. So you have to train sometimes doing things where you have to open up and you have to go for a target. Or you have to throw a punch with an open hand and saying, I'm going to try to grab the ear. Right? That's vital target stuff. Right? I'm going to throw a punch. I'm not throwing a punch at the chin. I'm throwing it at the throat area. Okay? I'm not going to punch him in the chest because there's a red dot there and it scores a point. I'm going to punch him in the throat because that's what's going to finish the fight. It's going to cause trauma. Okay? I'm not going to stand back here and stand far away and sit here and do this fight stuff. I'm going to sit in here, and if we get caught up and he grabs me, I'm going to stomp his foot. So sometimes you've got to practice not just kicking like this, but stomping the foot down. Or grabbing and stepping and practicing the whole idea of doing the vital targets. All right. To finish up, to wrap up, let's go over this again. Face there and look vaguely vulnerable. There you go. Eyes, nose, lips, throat, straight down here. Ears, fingers, groin, and toes. All right? Those are the things you want to look at as vital targets. And you want to train from time to time in the gross motor combatives, or if you want to train in a self-defense application and you're practicing your techniques, every once in a while stop and say, how can I modify this to strike a vital target? How can I modify this hook so the hook will actually go in here? If I'm doing this drill, you know, I'm holding the focus mitts and he's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Well, maybe we need to go 1, 2, 3, throat high, right? Change it and envision it and use it. 3, and then 4, right? Or maybe we need to go 1, 2, 3. Now throw this forward and dig it into the groin. You see? And that's how you can start working on vital targets. And you just practice doing that so that it's in your head as something you do, not just something you hope you'll do later if any bad thing ever happens. But as you can see, you can't train that full speed. You can't train that for real because you only get to do it once. All right? That's vital targets. Make sure you include vital target zone striking and vital target changes to your weapons from time to time at a low or no resistance movement so that at least you're training your body to do it.